All right, I think we are live. We are. Oh, I gotta switch my cameras really quick. Um, oh, go away. All right, let's just do that. All right, we're live. Took me a minute to get it figured out right there. We were all resetting our Wi-Fi, so that's why we had the little bit delay, and it looks like we're still a little bit choppy for tonight. But we're gonna do this thing. So, I'd like to welcome Dave and Alexi back for Boats and Shows tonight. How did last night's show go? I got on River Dave's place this morning. I don't know if Dave knows it. I trimmed a little bit of the shitty sound out. But how did last night's show go as far as the content?
It went okay. It went pretty good, actually. I think we're laying down a pretty good format. And as I told Alexi when we started, I said, that first one is more just to try the format of it and get it rolling, and then we'll fine tune as it goes forward. But I think it's going to be a good thing every Wednesday. So.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun because people will be able to have it cataloged on River Dave's place to look at the subjects that we're covering, from the air cleaner all the way down to the oil pan to the drivetrain of an engine. A lot of times we don't get into that in our tech show because there's specific questions that are written in. So we kind of stay focused on that group of items rather than going through like a fluid description of the engine from top to bottom. So it'll have a little difference.
Yeah, for those that didn't watch last night, they on the Tech and Talk show for Wednesday night, Dave and Alexi talked about air cleaners. Like I said, the first couple minutes were a little bit hazy on my end, trying to figure out this new software, trying to figure out how to run it for someone else. But I think as far as the content, if you want to hear about a air cleaner, the different kinds, really where I chopped it was about where it started getting good. So.
Yeah. The first 10 minutes of it was the sound was a little off, but honestly, the end of the show was a little better anyways.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so, it's one of those things where, like anything else, this broadcast will evolve and everybody's connection will sort out. But, that's one of the challenges when you're trying new software with 3 different internet speeds and 3 different camera systems and acquisition systems, depending on how the audio is. But once we get that in synchrony, I think we'll be good. I don't have any issues when I do it alone, but, when you get multiple things going on, sometimes it gets weird.
Yep.
What are we talking about tonight, Jake?
So tonight's show, we one of the questions we had from last week's show was, I'm going to split this into a 2-part question, is how does social media play a part in the boat world now that social media is such a big thing? And do either of you have a regret of, not starting social media sooner? And then with that question, what happened to the Dave and Alexi show a few years ago?
Alexi, you want to start that first?
I can go on that. So let's go back to the social media thing. So I definitely don't regret starting earlier. I think I was one of the first ones to have started fairly early in the industry at different levels, only because I can allocate us being kind of tech nerds over here, right? We're always into technology, looking into better things and new things, and we're willing to try. We saw the trend coming, for social media probably 15 years ago, more so than earlier than that. But what's happened is, and I've warned several different media outsources or, providers, is, once you have an audience on social media, you're targeting who you want to target to, and they're also receptive because they're watching what they care to watch rather than getting it several other ways. So it's more personal, specific. It's worldwide. For me, that's a big deal because we deal with a lot of international clients. In fact, more so than domestic in our world here. So for us, like, we were always using, WhatsApp. Before that, we were using Skype, of course, what we're using now, and several other ways to communicate with the international clientele. And it's really, for us, been a great thing, and we think it's like top notch. Like, it's the it's the best way for us to communicate with people, show what we're doing. I always said a picture says 1,000 words, right? You put a picture, for example, of what's behind me, it explains a lot without saying much other than a caption. So in our world, again, I'll say that it's top notch. As for what Dave and I were doing, what was it, Dave, 3 years ago? Or has it been? So what we were trying to do is Dave came to me and said, look, I'd really like to let our RDP viewers learn about fuel injection. It's like a scary thing for a lot of people. So I said, well, why don't we just start out by explaining the basic things, come over one day, we'll sit down and, I'll get a bunch of stuff out, throw it on a table, and try to make it easy for folks to understand. So we did that, and it was actually we were surprised how many people actually rewatched that. Maybe not so much live, but the rewatches were huge, right? So we thought that would be a good format. So I had already been doing these things called quick tech that I do. It's like a 5-minute right off the fly. Like today I found a good one that I want to talk about. So I'll probably do like a quick 15-minute video of it randomly throughout the next couple days. I had always been doing little things like that and showing pictures and different things that we do, but I never really stayed consistent on a schedule with it. So I told Dave, I said, once this technology evolves a little better, because when we did it 3 years ago, all these apps and programs were not perfected. And I said, once it gets perfected and we test it a little more, I said, this would be the future platform for, all sorts of different applications in the media world. For us to be able to explain things to clients is great. For you guys, all kinds of, news events and different things and what's going on in the industry that you guys know, with all three of our so-called antennas out there, we can bring a lot of information to people in such a simple way, and they don't have to love us or hate us, but they'll still watch to get information. And I think that it's something that someone across the world can easily keep up with where they couldn't do it before. I mean, I used to have to Skype my customers to show them an engine part, and it used to cost me like $50. Now it's all free. You can use WhatsApp or any of these other things to call them, or like through Facebook, you can use the phone, and it made it so easy for us. So that's my take on it. How about you, Dave?
So before I answer that, I want to explain to the viewers why I'm sucking on a sucker here. This is not like a sucker.
Sucker you.
I've been really, really sick this week. And as a matter of fact, I didn't even get out of bed till 2 or 3 o'clock today. And this is one of those like throat lozenge suckers that I couldn't find anything in my house other than Lollies, the organic throat thing that my wife bought my kid.
You didn't get out of bed till what time?
Like almost 3. I've been sick, man.
I thought that was the normal schedule.
No. Usually I go to bed 3 or 4 a.m. and I get up at 10. But
it's all good. I'm just busting your balls, buddy.
Yeah, I know. Anyhow, the original question was, do I regret not getting involved in social media early? And you know what? It's yes and no, right? And Alexi was a little long-winded on his. And if you want, this is my world. It's the web world, right? And let's break it down real quick. Do I regret not getting involved in MySpace? I mean, how many hours are wasted on that thing to watch it get completely run over by Zuckerberg in one day? Literally, Facebook came on.
Literally one day.
Yeah,
MySpace was like the best, right?
Yeah, so RDP's been online since, I think, 2007, and I've been on forums since 2001. But I remember when I was running RDP in the beginning, and everyone's like, Dave, you got to get a MySpace. And I kept saying, I have MySpace. MySpace is Riverday's place, right? And so Facebook came along, and obviously it didn't take long before, actually it did take a while because, we're in 18, and now you're starting to see some of these more boating pages start blowing up and this, that, and the other. And as a matter of fact, that guy Dave Stone, he said the other day, your biggest problem is Zuckerberg. Facebook's running you over. And I actually told him, I was like, it's kind of weird. I totally understand why people would get that impression, and I get it. You watch almost every single forum out there, from various boating forums to car forums to even my pool playing forums. A lot of them have pulled up stakes. Some of them moved their entire platforms to Facebook. A lot of them just turned into ghost towns because they can't compete with Facebook.
But they're not as specific. I didn't mean to cut you off, but they're not as specific. So, like, you would go to RDP for specific threads, certain information, where on Facebook you're just getting what that person's putting out. So they each have their place.
Well, RDP is kind of an enigma. You know, if you actually look at the true core of most forums, if you go on underwaterbasketweaving.com, right, and you're talking about anything other than underwater basket weaving, they'll delete your post, they'll kick you off. There's always the assholes that are like, use the search feature, you know. I mean, that's literally like old like forum jokes, right? And when I started River Days Place, you know, yes, it is a boating forum, but if you actually look at the description, it's you know, it's boats, it's anything custom. I don't care what it is. If you have a custom hot rod, if you got a custom Harley, if you got a custom boat, if you're doing custom stuff to your house, I don't care what it is. If it's cool and it's different, I want to see it, right? And when I did RDP, I didn't do it just about boating. The common thread was we're all boaters. And, you know, so we have the lounge and people can shoot the shit in there. And we have very specific sections that are tech orientated. But, you know, if somebody posts something in the lounge that should be somewhere else, we're not Nazis about it. And we run it pretty loose, you know, and it's kind of grown from there. But to give you some interesting statistics, you know, July of 2017, we were one of the largest forums in the performance boat world. And we were running 54,000 unique IPs a month. In July of 2018, that number was 104,000. July this year, I'm shooting for 140.
And so where do those numbers? Where do those numbers? Just so the viewers, like, what type of places do the numbers get derived from?
Where do they come from?
Software, yeah. Where do they come? In other words, I can tell you about engines, but you know, the internet stuff, I have a pretty good idea. But where does the information come from that you know that you get? Because we hear like a lot of different vendors, they put up numbers, but you know, it's just like how many of I get 10,000 views on my show in one day, and I'm saying to myself, there's no way 10,000 people sat there and watched the whole thing. So then you got to dissect it and try to figure out what's real, right?
So when we run our numbers, we run a third-party software called Google Analytics. It is not, you know, Google Analytics, you track every website. You know, like if you want a website and you're not running Google Analytics, you are remiss for not doing that. It's it's run by Google, obviously.
Right. I've heard about it, yeah.
Everything going out. So they tell us the referral sites. They tell us, if you're on RDP right now, they tell me where you're at, you know, geographically. Each person has a unique IP address. You know, and they tell you all that stuff. So I can break it down regionally by state, but what I find the most interesting is actually where does the web traffic come from? Not regionally, but how are we deriving that traffic? You know, and it's
whether it's by accident or not, right? I mean, you want to know where
it's all by design. We spend a lot of time and a lot of money, and I'll get into that in 1 second. You know, social media. We're on social media right now. We're on Facebook, and social media is an excellent platform. For if I want to get a word out on something and I want to do it quick, it's because I'm friends with Jake, right? And Jake's friends with Wolf Industries, which is a wakeboard boat thing, right? And so it shares from me to him like a spider web. I've never met the Wolf guy, but because of social media, I know that he's friends with him and his friends with that. So it's great for crowd building, and it's great for building large groups of people in a big hurry, right? River Days Place has been online a long time, and we started with the V-Bulletin software that Internet Brands owns, and Internet Brands also owns Offshore Only and a bunch of other websites. We moved over to Zenforo, but also even before that, when we were with Internet Brands, I spent an awful lot of money on the back end of the websites to ensure that we have what's called SEO, which is search engine optimization. And River Days Place has been online long enough now that Google really, really likes River Days Place. You know, for the viewers right now, if you go and you type in Hallett 210, Hallett 240, Hallett 270, if you type in Chiata, I don't give if it's West Coast River related and you type it in, River Days Place is coming up on the top 3. And so, you know, our numbers are, you know, 35% retention and 65% Google, you know, and everybody says, you know, like, with Facebook, you know, you got your silent partner, Zuckerberg, right? Because you're not paying him rent, you're not doing that. Well, my silent partner's Google, you know, so I'm not terrified of Zuckerberg because I have Google. No matter what, you don't go to Facebook and Google, I want to buy a camshaft. You go to Google and do that.
Right. Or YouTube, which is Google.
YouTube is the next big thing, which is part of the reason why I'm up Jake's ass about doing all these shows on YouTube. And we got to start working. I'm talking to my IT guys about the SEO of that. But, you know, I spent an awful lot of time with SEO, and now we're one of the most recognized websites in our industry anyways for Google. If you type in specific thread titles and you do a search 2 days later, it's right at the top. It's when they had the big wildfires last year, the traffic on my website goes through the roof because somebody will start a thread about it. And all these people from all over the country are trying to check in to get the latest news, and they're going to RDP and they're saying, we're finding it here faster than we can find it on news outlets because guys like yourself, Alexi, that have houses there are putting up real information.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's true. A lot of times I'll search for something and I'll pull up some random, like, I'd never heard of it forum, and I'm like, wow, there's actually people that have a bunch of these that are into it. Whatever the subject is, there's like a forum for everything. But yeah, so
Facebook threads
makes a lot of sense.
Facebook threads are starting to become a little more SEO friendly. You will see them start popping up here and there. Right. But honestly, that's a long ways off before they're going to start really.
I don't see them ever. Like for me, I never see them.
I've seen like 2 in all of my searches, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And
I will say, like on my part, like one of the things that drew me to River Dave's place was, and you kind of brought this up in the beginning of your comment, was that you guys have a little bit of everything. So everyone kind of knows I'm an off-road guy. These 2 guys right here is who I learn a lot about boats from. Well, one of the first times I actually explored RDP was probably, 6-7 years ago. And I realized there was off-road threads. I realized there was boat threads. I realized there was a little bit of everything. I've gone on there and looked at threads, where someone posts like, what's the best tow vehicle? Well, that's always interested me. I'm in the off-road world. I'm in the trailer world, and obviously a lot of these guys want a nice tow rig for their boats. So there is a little bit of everything. And so, especially for me, where I'm kind of involved in both industries, that's what's kind of cool to me.
To close out the actual question, do I regret not getting involved early? Yeah, I'm glad that I missed the MySpace trend because that would have, how much effort do I want to put into something that literally got KO'd in 2 days, But with Facebook right now, I wish I would have put, Tom Lee he's the guy that runs most of my social media, actually runs almost all of it. And, he was living in my house, when he first moved out here, and he was literally on me. He's like, Dave, you got to get after the Facebook. Dave, you got to get after the Facebook. And I never really paid much attention to it. And I wish I would have paid a little more attention to it back then. But, here we are, and it's 2019, and go ask any kid on the street that's under 25 years old. And they're like, Facebook? That's what my grandpa's on. They're all on Instagram now. They're all on Snapchat. And so, I'm watching, and this isn't a shot at anybody, but I'm watching all these giant guys build these huge communities, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going, did we not learn anything from MySpace? I mean, it's fucking coming, right? Like, it's coming.
Let's use yesterday as an example. We're trying to promote for this show.
I'm telling Tom, get after our Instagram. Start finding whatever the newest social media thing is, because I want to be on that in the beginning.
There's a lot of new ones, yeah.
Yeah, there is. There's like 30 of them. I was talking to a guy the other day, and there's like one called Tonk now, and all this other stuff.
Yeah, Vero, Tonk.
Yeah, but anyhow, it's I watch all this stuff, and I don't, I like Facebook as a platform. I think it works well. What I think they messed up on is when they got involved politically with the right and the left and the shadow banning and all that. Because guys like me, I'm a very, very right-wing guy, not to bring politics into your show here, but when they shadow banned and all that stuff, when they made the playing fields unlevel, that's going to cause a lot of problems for them. Even Congress is talking about breaking them up now, and so
I honestly never pay attention to politics. I try to keep it out of my brain.
That's all I pay attention to. But I think they messed up with that. I think they were smart.
Right, Jay? Politics.
I think they were smart buying Instagram, though, before it blew up too big, because Instagram would have done to Facebook what Facebook did to MySpace. But now they have it under their flag. But at the end of the day, if you build a large community solely on Facebook and everybody goes to Instagram, you got to rebuild your community again. Granted, you'll have branding behind you and people will recognize the name, but it's not like my software where I have everybody's email addresses. I have everybody's contact information. I have everything I need, where if I threw the switch on RDP today, I could literally get back my core membership in 8 hours on a second website,
Yeah, that's true.
And, because I own it. I don't rent from
Zuckerberg. Yeah, they own all that as their own intellectual property, I believe. I mean, all of it.
Exactly right. On Facebook, I don't care what it is. I have a big, group page as well. You don't get that contact information. You don't get the people's email addresses. You don't get all that shit. And so, to own a website I own my own thing. Like if you're not paying for something, you're the product, right? You're what they're selling. You're not, by you building a big community or by me building a big community on Facebook. Facebook loves it because they're getting all these people and they're marketing their ad dollars to your people. Whereas on RDP, I'm marketing Alexi's ad dollars towards my people. And that's
which is more specific for a guy like me marketing, say, in the boat segment.
Well, Facebook's getting crazy. I mean, the algorithm, the teams they have over there. I mean, if you ever peek behind the Iron Curtain, it's nuts. Have you ever, literally, people talk about this where you think of something and an ad will pop up? They literally narrowed it down to basically there's 10 personality types, and I mean, the science behind social media,
crazy.
People, it's insane.
All my stuff is just boat and off road.
I was on Amazon looking at some lights for a bumper or something, right? And 3 hours later, something I was on, and just boom! Oh, these lights that you liked are now available $10 cheaper at this place out of nowhere. I'm like,
if you guys get a chance, if anybody watching gets a chance to see this later, do yourself a favor, go on YouTube and search Facebook ads and cat litter. There's a guy that went on there. He says Facebook is listening to you even when it's not on. And when you're on Facebook, he talks about cat litter. He doesn't have a cat or anything. And all of a sudden, about 3 hours later, all the cat litter ads start popping up, right? It's actually, they're recording you and then selling that to their advertisers, which is freaking brilliant. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they're going to make $1 zillion doing it. But I feel a little weird about having that in my realm.
Man, I could tell you what, I got some things that should be popping up then that are X-rated.
Unfortunately, their community standards are set too high for guys like us.
We say X-rated things about engines all day long, how sexy they are.
So what's the next what's the next topic there, Jake?
Well, let's go into this one. So last week we had kind of a short discussion about center consoles. And honestly, I'm not sure that I really, understand the point of a center console or, why they're so popular. And, from your guys' perspective, I brought it up to Alexi last week that, center consoles, most of them have outboards. Are you going to touch that? So I guess that's kind of my next question is, you went to the Miami Boat Show and you saw a shit ton of center consoles.
So it's not just Miami. It's literally, if you go anywhere.
Large lakes, large bodies of water.
If you go anywhere east of New Mexico and anywhere west of here, okay? When you go to the Pacific and whatnot, you'll see center. They're all fish boats. They're not the kind of boats that I'm looking at marketing, but everybody has them, right? But when you go back into the Midwest, Lake of the Ozarks, and you go back into Miami and all these other places where, boating is so much different over there. It's so eye-opening. But, it's the Honda minivan, okay? It's the Suburban. They are the most functional, easy to use, easy to get it out of. They're just war horses, man. And at the end of the day, the cleanup ritual is hose them out. And that was kind of the big thing is you jump in this thing, you party, your buddy spills a beer. Who cares, dude? You're doing 60, 70 miles an hour, which is in the range of most performance boats. They're big V-bottoms, so they can run in big, rough stuff. And they're just kind of bulletproof. The problem why they've never really been popular and have a Sue Parker in our area is beaching is a big thing out here. And that's why our deck boats, our 28-foot deck boats, 26, 25, and all the way down to 21-foot deck boats. Actually, they go up to 34 now. I think Advantage has one. Yeah. But you roll those things up on the beach, you walk right off the front of them, right? And the deck boat is the pontoon boat that goes, anywhere from 60 to 100. And, Craig Ogden, I think, ran 150 or something in his e-ticket, right? But, that's their hot rod performance boat. In terms of functionality, though, and in terms of capability, there's not a deck boat on the market that could, a 28-foot deck boat on the market that could touch a 28-foot center console. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because if I had a 28-foot center console in my garage with twin 350s on it, it would run in the 70 to 75 mile an hour range. I could literally hook my truck to it, tow it to San Diego, run up the coast, run over to Catalina, come all the way back, throw it in this lake, and run it again. You can't do that in a deck boat. And that is why I think center consoles are the future. The downsides of them is there's just no good way to get off the damn things when you pull them up on a beach. The bows are enormously high because they're offshore boats, and they have a giant amount of freeboard in the front, right? And the second problem is and which is bizarre to me, but they're set up for fishing, so the captain's under this little T-top, and they just don't have any shade. But as you're seeing in Miami and some of the other places, they're running retractable shades now right out the back of these things. They have moon roofs. They got all this weird stuff, and they're starting to solve some of those problems. And in my opinion, and I could be wrong. I mean, it's just my opinion, right? Everybody's got one. I think whoever comes up with a 33-ish round there, 30 to 36 foot, 10.5 foot, 11 foot max beam. I'd rather see it 10 and a half just to make it a little easier to tow around. Twin or triple configurable with a shade option, a way to get out the front. I think that's going to be a home run on the West Coast. But we'll see.
So, Alexi, what about power? I mean, is there any, I guess this is a question for both, is there any center console that has, inboard, outboard power? Or is it mostly just outboard power?
So I drove a cigarette that had inboard, actually a Merc, I think it was a 1350 when we were at Lake of the Ozarks. So there are, but it's very rare. But the thing is that what I would wish for if I was getting a center console, I don't want to have like 4 or 6 or 10 engines on the back of my boat.
Yeah.
Like now that these outboards are more horsepower, it would be neat to be able to have maybe just 2 engines or maybe 3 engines to be a 70, 80 mile an hour boat, which a lot of them do. But I would say that, and that'll happen, but I just feel funny having like 4 to 6 engines on the back of any boat. It just seems like too much to me. But, they're doing it. A lot of them have 4. But that's the only thing that I don't like, say, about some of the configurations. But, they're very versatile boats. They're easy to dock. They have that, Mercury has that joystick control. I mean, it makes it very easy to back a boat in if you don't have the experience, or if it's a real windy day, or nobody at a dock to help you in if there's, something going on.
IOs too, though.
Yeah.
They do that with twin IOs. I mean, not super high performance ones because you got to ditch the tie bar, but
right,
they do.
Right. No,
yeah,
Volvo has a couple of different ones, and there's Mercury. They're all working on that, but I don't know. I mean, the center consoles, like Dave, you hit it on the head. I mean, really, it's a regional thing, and they're very usable, versatile boats. And with the engines, I mean, outboards, it's all high performance now. They're all 350, 400, and Seven Marine has their, 3 or 557, and all their other motors that they're developing now. So, I mean, there's plenty of power available. So we'll see where that goes. A lot of guys don't want that much power. They just want something that goes 40 or 50 on the intercoastal waterways just to kind of go around. You don't have to have the big giant horsepower engines as well, and you could still have a very usable, versatile boat. So I guess it's just an option. But
so one of the things that I found interesting is everybody loves the outboards because you can lay on the wood and just leave them. I mean, literally all day you can just leave them wide open, and then supposedly they don't break. I don't think that's true, but that's what everybody claims, right? But there was actually a lot of people down in Miami that I heard saying they missed the And I was talking to a guy named Dane. He's actually coming out to Desert Storm, and he was talking about potentially towing a center console with twin big blocks in it and IOs. So,
well, if you really want to get disco, you can take one of the Seven Marine LSA engines that's in the cowling and run the header straight out the side of the cowling, and you got your noise and your outboard.
Yeah, right.
I mean, eventually someone will do it, right?
I don't know that the Seven Marines are those as reliable as the Mercs and the Yamahas and all that.
I don't know how to answer that. It's a V8 LSA Cadillac CTSV configuration. Turned on its it's actually sitting in there normal, and then has a gearbox that changes the direction. But I mean, they seem to be really well. The ones I've heard from people that own, but I don't know but 2 people that own them, so I don't know. There's a lot of them out there now.
Aren't they like 85 or 95 grand a whack?
I think so, like 82 for the high end ones. Yeah,
seems about right.
So maybe that answers the question that I had. Basically, that's why they put 4 or 6 of them on 30 grand or 25 grand.
Yeah. So how
You
much
get
is a
three
how much
for
is
the
a
price of-
400R?
You get 3 for the price of 1. Well,
Yeah.
400 is what? 27, 28 grand retail.
I don't know what they are.
Retail.
I thought with the
Yeah, I
rating,
mean they have different pricing
they're
depending
like
on.
fine. Yeah, they're not crazy expensive for what you get.
Yeah.
Right. Let's just say they're in the $20,000 range somewhere. You can buy them with electric throttle, cable control, 20-inch shaft, 25. There's all kinds of options that change the prices, but yeah, I mean, literally, you can get 3 for the price of 1. So
What I thought was interesting in Miami, though, they were saying that if you go to the ocean in the offshore market, Yamaha has 65 or 70% of the market share, and the rest of it is divided. This was told to me by a dealer, so take it for what it's worth. I don't have verifiable stuff on this. They said offshore, Yamaha has like 65% of the market share, and that other 35% is divided up amongst all the other outboard manufacturers, right? But if you go into the inland waterways, any freshwater, any lakes, all across the United States, Mercury has 65 or 75% of the market share, and all that little sliver is made up between all the other outboard manufacturers.
So what's interesting about that is back to my original comment. It's all about regional, right? So there's a reason that you have a more center consoles out east, and then those manufacturers, depending on what deal they make with one manufacturer, you're obviously going to have a lot more dealers that have, say, the Yamaha or the Mercury or whatever it is, and that's what gets flooded out into the market because there may be more inland dealers that sell smaller engines. So, and Mercury already has that network, for example. So it's kind of like that way.
I don't think people realize how ruthless the marine industry is. Like literally, some of this stuff, and I'm not going to name names here, but some of these guys are like, no, you're going to be a dealer for us, but now that you're a dealer for us, you will deal with nothing to do with anybody else. Like, you know what I mean? And they literally establish dealer networks.
Happens with the parts vendors as well. They get a little weird when you start selling multiple brands.
I always when I got into this industry, I always thought it was like, Sony. You could go into any stereo shop and buy Sony anywhere, right? But apparently that is not the case here. Like either you're a Merc shop or you're a Volvo shop or you're a this shop or, whatever. And I know a lot of service shops that'll work on kind of anything, but they actually have to go to like other places and buy those parts and then bring them back to work on them.
That's my motto over here. That's why we're the largest unauthorized dealer of everything in the whole world. Because we don't want to be authorized by anybody because we want to sell whatever we want and help people with whatever we want. And usually the manufacturers actually send them here anyway because if some dealer can't figure it out, they need a guy like us to sort it out for them, and we do that too. But it's funny you say that. It's very true.
It's ruthless. So.
Yeah. Is your industry like that, Jake, in the off-road?
Yeah, I think so. I think people are pretty specific. I mean, if you're a King guy, King Shocks, you're a King guy. If you carry King at your shop, I can think of a shop that's up near you, Alexi, good friend of mine, but he's a King guy, and you won't see anything else on anything he goes through his shop. And he's got a great relationship with King.
Well, and the thing is if his relationship is really good with King and his customers have any issues, I mean, having that relationship and support for the end user, that's a big deal, right? So say the guy sells 2 or 3 brands and the brand B has a problem and it's difficult to take care of the client. At the end of the day, I always tell people, we're the soldiers on the front line. Like you can't worry about the warranty program, right? It doesn't matter. You're gonna get shot at by bullets before you're gonna get any backup from anybody. So you need to make sure that whoever's product you sell, no matter what it is, that they're gonna support you. A lot of times vendors will leave you hanging and say, oh yeah, we'll send that out ground. It's like, well, wait a minute. I got a guy that's boating tomorrow, and because your company's screwed up, I need the part now. Like, put it in a car and send somebody. We didn't make the mistake. Or do you want me to now go on social media and say, hey, this brand didn't send me this, whatever it is, and that's why that guy didn't get on the water, because they don't realize how high profile some of these boats are.
I always hated that when people use the internet and social media to leverage.
Right.
Back in the hot boat days, I know you were like real tight with hot boat. Back in the hot boat days, I got on that forum when it first went free and live, I just discovered it that week. But I remember that. And, knowing all the manufacturers, you always get the backstories on that. And all these guys would go on there and just trash somebody. And they would literally go to the manufacturer and say, I'll take it all off if you give me $5,000. $5,000 off my boat, or $5,000.
That happens. That's gangster stuff that happens in every part of the world, you know?
That's such bullshit. That's part of the reason why I don't let it on my forum. I said, if you want to share an honest experience and you say, look, I'm unsatisfied with the service because these are the things that happen. I said, I'll allow that, but you better be able to prove it, because 90% of the time that I've run into on that, it's always BS, right?
Right,
but
right.
You're allowed to say you're not happy with it. You're not allowed to say this guy's a crook, this guy ripped you off, this guy, that's like bashing a business to try to put them out of business,
Well, let's talk about that. You said you want to give an honest experience. I think as a whole, that's really what we're trying to gather with this show, our Wednesday night show, and Alexi's show, is I think we want to give honest, and we talked about it a little bit with the boat testing last week as well. We want this show to be honest. We want it to be kind of upfront. We want Alexi. We know Alexi's going to give you an honest, upfront tech show. I've heard Alexi on his show say, yeah, this one sucks, this one doesn't. And Dave will come out and say it too. I don't believe in that, but I believe in this. And so it goes back to, why would, my friend, let's go back to the King. Why would, if he believes that, King's the best product, why would he even dabble in anything else? I don't think he'll talk crap about the other shot companies, but.
No, but it's good for him to dabble for his own education, right? So he can further understand why he's stuck with King. Like, in other words, maybe he finds out that company B, you gotta probably still check it out, but I get what you're saying for sure.
Someone said, no, that's what Boat Outlaws is for.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Everybody has a role in their businesses, and even in these Facebook pages, and one of my biggest concerns, at least a while ago, was, Mike Grimes started the Howlett Owners Group. Paul Gooding is watching now. He started the Cheyenne Owners Group. And my buddy Marcus started the Shockwave Owners Group. And I was like, Jesus, all these guys start all these things. What am I going to do? And I thought about it, and I was kind of stressed out about it for a night or two, to be honest with you. And then I thought about it, and I says, well, you know what you're going to see on a Shockwave Owners Group? Shockwaves. And on down the road. And, having guys like Alexi and Trey, our boat test, we're going to have Trace Martin, we're going to have Alexi, we're going to have Bob Brown. And I got another guy coming that's probably going to be dry land and some other stuff. I'll save that for a future thing because there's going to be some fireworks if I mention his name. But anyhow, RDP isn't the Shockwave Owners Club. You know what I mean? It's where you go to get a cross-reference of various different manufacturers and things like that. And I try to make it as entertaining as hell as I can. But we do have some shortcomings on that front too. We don't have live video. Or I don't have the ability to take this cell phone and upload a video to it immediately while I'm sitting in the channel and some chick's got big boobs and pasties. You know what I mean? That is something I'm working on. But
the big boobs part or the pasties?
Dave's working on pasties for himself.
He's working on pasties or big boobs?
I'm working on getting the ability to host video.
Are you going to put a pasty over your belly button too?
Yeah. This is like one time I really think about it. But it's back to the original, do I regret certain things? The first question that you started off with. My biggest regret, if I can rewind my life and do what I wanted to do originally, I've spent $30,000-$40,000 a couple of different times on software, and I'm getting ready to do it again right now to do something that I did literally 5 years ago when I had the Russians working on my site instead of the United Kingdom guys. But I actually had a functioning version of basically what I'm doing now, and I gave up on it. And I shouldn't have. I should have stuck with it, and I should have rolled it. And I should have continued to try to innovate on my dime on my website and leave it at that instead of letting the website become status quo on stock software that we just kind of slightly modified. So sorry to get off topic there. I'm still like.
No, I got another question. I got another question with loyalty. So say that, and this is going back to center consoles a little bit too. So say center consoles start making their way west, let's say, and they stop in Havasu, Parker, Powell, where all these people are loyal to Nordic, Eliminator, DCBs, will center consoles, the brands that make center consoles, will they be able to kind of infiltrate? And let's say they figure out a great solution for beaching and getting off the boat. A lot of West Coast people are West Coast brand, loyal to West Coast brands.
DCB didn't come out of the woodwork and say, oh, we're doing a center console today. They did it because MTI is taking their customers.
Yeah.
And they had to do it. If they did not, I told them that 2 years ago. I said, if you do not do this, you will be screwed. And at the time, they had a different opinion. But now it's like, okay, you can't have somebody that builds a something that somebody wants and then have a competing product right there, because they go out there, they go on that MTI center console. What do you think the next boat they ride in is? It's that 340 Cat. So they lose 4 or 5, 6 big customers, and they're like, dude, we'll build the center console so that way, when they test drive our center console, now they'll test drive our twin out.
And it's a big deal if you look at numbers, which you're obviously a numbers guy looking at your stats, but how many guys have the funds to be able to have that expensive or 2 of those boats? So when you lose one customer in the marine high-end world, you're losing a big chunk. It's not like I'll sell the next guy a $400,000 basic boat. Yeah. I lost $1 million boat, whatever, I'll get another one. It doesn't work that way. You got to stay on top of your game in our world.
It's already happening. But to answer your question, though, Jake, the loyalty of it all, this is exactly what's going to happen. DCB lost a couple. They said, fuck it, we're going to do one, and we're going to try to do it better, right? And hats off to them for doing it. I have not heard all about it, but I have heard that boat's going to have some remarkable features that nobody else has, right?
Yeah.
Nordic is already doing it. They already have. I posted it up on my website, and I was told to take it down, and I'll tell you guys the political reasons of that much later in life. We'll joke about this show someday. But they already have a 36, a 42, and I believe a 47 that they are working on, right? Baron Boats has already announced after they do their 25, the next thing they're doing is smaller center consoles. So anybody with a half a brain, as far as Eliminator is concerned, they've already had talks about it, turning an Eagle into a center console. And just, these aren't serious talks, but just kind of talking. And I told him, I says, I don't think it's wide enough. The whole point of these things is to get a little width in them and come party boats.
It's like a playground with a steering wheel in the middle.
Exactly, But yeah, I don't think any West Coast manufacturer, if a trend comes this way, would be foolish enough to say, no, I'm sticking with this. There's only been one West Coast manufacturer that threw the bird up, literally the bird up, to the entire boating industry and said, we're good at what we do, and we're not changing anything, and that was Shayada. And Shayada stuck with V-drives. They still build 21-foot V-drives, and that's their niche. That's what they're known for, and you want to go buy a 21 V-drive, per foot of fiberglass, they're the most expensive custom boat you will ever buy. And they're badass. And I'll tell you what, if I hit the lotto tonight, the only difference in my garage is there'd be another Shayada sitting right next to mine. They're the ones, they came out with they got the 32, and then they came out with the 43, and the 43 is a badass boat, and it performs. I think with 700s, the thing ran like 90-something miles an hour. That thing's a beast.
Just shy of 100 we drove it.
And they're 32s. I got several friends with 32s, but remember the articles when they were testing them, 60 to 100 in under 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, they're really fast. The one that Kevin Croner has up north with 2 of our 725s, it feels like it's got 4 turbos on the thing. It's amazing. But it's one of those things, I always tell people with that brand boat, even though the guy's my buddy, I tell people, until you drive one, I can't explain to you what they are. The V-drive boat is something special. The twin-engine smaller boat is something special. Just go drive one.
The V-drive Shayada, I heard a guy say it best on the forum. He said, some boats have soul. Like soul. And that's the best way I can describe driving a V-drive Shayada. Like, you're driving it, and it's talking to your soul. It's not just seat of the pants stuff. It's really, like, for me, almost an emotion.
They run like they're on rails.
Yes. Paul Gooding just said Shayada is a boutique builder, but they're the best at what they do. I like that. I like that term, boutique builder.
Yeah, we're kind of that way. Sometimes people claim us to be a boutique engine builder.
Yeah.
You never know. People have a word for anything.
You want to hear a funny Paul Gooding story? I met Paul years and years ago.
Paul's boat right behind me.
Yeah, I met Paul years and years ago, and he was up in Havasu, and he had a place, I think, down at the Islander, and he had I think at the time it was a 29 DCB. And I was like, dude, you need to come down to Parker. He's like, Dave, I ain't going down to Parker with those little ass river boats and this, that, and the other. Anyhow, I hooked him up and I took him out to a 21 Shiata. I had some friends take him out and run him around. And next thing you know, he got rid of a couple of those boats, and he's like, well, I think I'm going to buy one of them Shiata things. And so he got a Shiata. But he used to joke with me all the time because my seat got messed up, and I was like, damn, I just got to go to Shiata to get fixed. He's like, what, do they got special Shiata vinyl? And I'm all, actually, they do. And no bullshit. Is that? Well, it turns out they run Naga hide in their stuff instead of vinyl, But, yeah, now he's like Mr. Shiata. He had a D-Drive 21, a 24. He's had his Mini. He runs the Shiata boats and fans page, and so it's interesting. That's one ride in a decent 21 will change somebody's life that quickly. It's
right, and some of them are horrible. I'll be honest. Like some of them that aren't assembled right, and maybe third party touched them. They don't work. The ones that work though, that are built by the manufacturer or someone of quality, they're amazing to drive. I mean, they really are. Well, you have one, Dave.
Yes, I do. I have one of the few IO ones that I would say runs pretty good. I put an awful lot of effort into that.
Yes. With the Bimini up.
With the Bimini up, that's right. That's truckster, buddy.
All right, so this is the...
Now, so I'm planning on running my Howlet and let you work on this thing and make it more into what it should have been originally.
We need to work on the Howlet.
I think we need to work on the Howlet.
The Howlet.
You fire that thing up, it's a plume of smoke.
Someone said last week on the show you should name your boat Rolling Coal.
I was going to name it Two Smoke, like two stroke, right. Two Smoke.
Can't you put some of that Lucas piston sealer in there? Or whatever?
I'm pretty sure they did that when I bought it because according to them, it didn't smoke when I bought it, right? So
of course.
I've seen that Lucas gear thing at the store where you can see how much better Lucas works. I think you need to do that to your boat.
It's just valve.
I have one of those here somewhere.
I got one more center console question, then we're going to end that one. What center console, it's kind of going back to the Miami Boat Show, but Alexi can chime in on this too. What center console would you like to see more of in Havasu?
My personal opinion is I really love the cigarette, but I was spoiled enough to be able to drive one, so actually 2 or 3 of them, but I really like that boat. It's very expensive, though, but so what is it in the boating industry? For the smaller ones, I really like the Sensation. It's really nice. Small, compact, it's priced well, and it has a lot of design sexiness to it. Back to that word.
So, being in Miami, I didn't get to go run them all, so I'm going to straight off of, appearance and what I saw in the boats there. Like my buddy Mike, he's got a 42 MTI. My buddy Austin Carver, he's got a 42 MTI. These things are beasts. The facilities in Havasu are not set up to deal with these boats. I mean, when they anchor, when they tie these things to the docks, you can watch the pylons moving and shit because they're just big boats, And granted, you can run them out here because, as it turns out, these center consoles are designed to draft like nothing when they're running. They only draft like 18 inches of water, so they can. I mean, they'd probably get through the mouth of the river easier than I would in my Howlet, right? That said, for Havasu, I like the 35 statement, man. I think it's badass. I think it's got like that kind of DCB Alcantara look to it. They had the one with the reverse facing lounger, right? All the other ones they have like a bar or something there, but they put a reverse facing lounger. The thing was just set up. It was gorgeous. That one you can run with twins. I think you can run triples on it too. The 38 statement was badass. Like Alexi said, the Sensations are really cool. But, if you said, River Dave, you're going to sell both your boats today and you're going to buy, this is granted, I don't know how it runs, but and you're going to buy a center console today, whatever, I'd probably end up in a concept because there's a lot of value there for the money. But that statement would be the deal for me. That statement.
Yeah, I like the concept. I drove one in Biscayne Bay in Miami. And I really like that boat.
I drove AJ's 36 from Fort Myers basically all the way to Key West last year, and that was badass. Yeah. And we got really great weather running down there. It was pretty smooth, and that by the way, if anybody watching, that is the most epic, like bucket list boating thing you can do is run down either side of the coast of Florida in a center console. We're driving. We're 3 hours in, right? You could have towed wire steer the whole time because we're at the Gulf and it's just perfectly smooth. And there's a big white beach. You're like, let's stop for lunch. We stop, we nose up and jump off. And you're picking up conch shells this big that are just littered everywhere on the beach. Stuff that people pay $300-400 for out here, for a decoration for their office. They're just everywhere.
And it's a different part of the world, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But
it's beautiful out there.
When we tried to leave, a storm came in, and it was literally like 6s and 8s. And I can tell you that Concept builds a solid boat, man. Because I thought
that'll make you for sure for test you.
I went out and we made it. I don't know, probably 10, 12 miles. And I finally told AJ and Timmy was like, keep going. I was like, Timmy, we're gonna get out in the middle of the Gulf, dude, and we're gonna be like one of those stories where it's like, whatever happened to those guys, And I was like, this ain't happening, And the waves were so big, no shit, Jake, that when the waves are that big, you actually have to be careful turning the boat around because you can capsize the boat on the side of a wave. And it took me a long time going straight into this shit to find a set small enough that I could whip it around and
it'll throw you right over if you do it wrong.
Oh God, and it was sketchy. I mean, my wife put a lifeline on. We only had like 1 or 2 lifelines. I had my wife put one on, because we got kids at home. I was like, one of us has to survive this, But yeah, I was driving back and I'm running on the backsides of these waves, and it was a smaller set. And I came over one of them, and I almost did that. And I was like, we're not doing that. I rode the backside of a wave all the way back to Key West. But yeah, in terms of toughness, I can tell you, Concepts are built for tough, man. That thing, we came off one of those. It was literally, that's when I made the decision to turn around. We were going up and up and up and up, and all of a sudden the water just disappeared. And I looked, and I was like, oh, shit. Literally, you could count the hang time. It was like 1,000, 2,000. And I was like, this is going to suck. And we cased that thing on the next wave, and I was like, holy shit.
I remember one time we were in Daytona Beach for an offshore race, and we were idling out of the harbor, and I looked at Nigel, and he looked at me, and we were going straight up, and we were idling straight up, and then crashing down. And I looked at him, we're going to race in this crap? He goes, I know, I sure hope they call it. And man, it was rough. But anyway, yeah, that water, that Mother Nature will sure teach you a few lessons anyway, right?
Definitely. Yeah. All right.
Subjects.
I think we're at 55 minutes, and let's talk really quick before we end this thing. So for the listener, for the viewer, I want to try to keep this show underneath an hour, just so we don't take up everyone's time for more than an hour. Plus, you got 2 other shows you can tune in during the week. So, Alexi, Dave, Tuesday and Wednesday next week, who are we going to find on your guys' show? Well, Alexi, we're going to find you on your show.
Yeah, I'm going to be solo talking about different things, water pumps and this, that, and the other. Some good questions came in after our last show about fuel systems and a few other things, but so we're getting good response on that. So we'll be talking, our normal tech for 30 to 45 minutes, sometimes 2 hours. It depends. Depends how much coffee's left in the old bin there,
Yeah, so Alexi does this deal on Tuesdays, and, obviously the RDP thing on Wednesdays. Basically, my only guest for right now is Alexi. I want to go, like I said, from stem to stern. I want to go through a motor from the air filters to the tailpipes and catalog each individual portion of that motor so that people can go back and reference that and possibly learn something about that. And talk not only about the parts themselves, but engine theory and harmonics and how some of the things work. There will be some guests, I'm sure, in the future. Like I said, we get into pistons, we'll probably talk to Jeremy at Racetech or somebody at CP or something, and have them discuss a little bit about, individual piston technology.
Yeah, that'd be neat. Get in there to talk about their products in that category.
So your show is the one with all the multiple guests, buddy. We're just here to get it kicked off again and get it rolling.
Well, next week we got Eric Briner from Fast Loud Photography is coming on. That's going to be a cool one because I think he's gearing up to do some pretty cool photo shoots coming up, and also Catalina Fun Run. I know that's kind of a big one for him. So, and then
he actually runs my newsletter. He puts together my whole newsletter for me and does all that. He's going to be shooting for us at Desert Storm along with 2 or 3 other guys, and he's a hell of a nice guy.
Yeah,
he really is.
Yeah. And then the week after, so I got 2 shows planned out. The week after, we're going to have Riley Harshman, who does Naughty Shine. We're going to get together. We're going to get together with Riley here. Riley lives close to me, and we're going to talk about Naughty Shine, new product that's going to be at Desert Storm. He's going to have it at the boat races here in a few weeks. So that's going to be 2 cool shows coming up.
So Naughty Shine is actually going to be on the RDP street at Desert Storm, right next to Legends. Him and his wife are very nice people, and we kind of hit it off over at the Billy B show. So
they're going to be right across the street from us then, too.
That's right. That's right. Nice. Lexi's making a comeback.
You might be able to see him behind Alexi's toter home. We'll tell Ryder to get like an orange or red.
We can put some of that shine up there on display, no problem.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks for watching this tonight. I felt like it went really good, and we'll see you guys next week.
All righty. See you later.